Welcome to the Shootin' Show. Stand by for shots fired.
Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome again to this week's program. I think we have another great show for you. We have some features I think you're going to find interesting. We have some guests that are going to be really entertaining. Well, friends, if it looks like that I'm promoting semi-automatic rifles, well, I am, because it's absolutely outrageous that some of these people in Washington, in the administration, in Congress, some of the anti-gun people around the country who don't have a clue about how these things work, who don't have a clue about how normal people, how we are as shooters, and they don't understand even what they're talking about, much less what they're dealing with, and they want to take these guns away from us, the honest citizen. You know, in this recent crime bill, I don't think there's one thing in there that punishes someone for committing a crime using a gun. And I stand to be corrected, but I don't believe there's anything like that. It's just more and more regulation to disarm us, the American public. And we don't agree with that at all. And we're going to do everything that we can here on the program and through the Shootin' Show Gun Club to put a stop to it. You know, there have been some terrible tragedies that have happened recently. The shooting on this train up in the Northeast, and I heard about one the other day at a parking lot in Oklahoma. Well, you know what, friends? If more of the general population were properly armed, these things probably would not even happen, or if they did, it could have been stopped immediately by a concerned citizen who was carrying a firearm. You know, it is just outrageous. The only people that are picked on are those that are unarmed. You know, if you think about it, how many police stations have you ever heard of being robbed? Well, there aren't any. Certainly not to my knowledge. You know why? Because everybody down there is carrying a gun. And a lot of police stations have quite a bit of money on hand. Some of them do. How many sheriff's offices around the country have you heard of being robbed? Well, everybody's carrying a gun. See, the criminal mind knows better than to go pick on somebody who can hurt them. And this is the law of the jungle. You know, the tiger does not mess with the lion. I mean, it literally has come back in our society to a situation of the strongest survive. And you know what? These guns are equalizers. It equalizes one person against a number of others that are trying to hurt them. It equalizes a small woman against a much larger attacker. And that's what it's all about. You know, friends, we've got to get our message out to the rest of the country, and we appreciate all your support here on the program. Incidentally, some of the orders we've received through the Bullet Express, please forgive us. We're back ordered on some things, and we'll be getting those different items to you as quickly as possible. Anyway, let's open today's program. Here behind me on this post, I have a bottle of some black powder that I discovered here on the farm looking through some stuff the other day. My grandfather bought that black powder back in the 1920s. And, you know, black powder is, shall we say, somewhat impact sensitive, so we're going to take our 223 rifle here with that 55 grain bullet moving at about 3,100 feet per second, and we're going to see what happens. And you know, I might be just a little bit closer than I want to be. I think I'll move back some. Tell you what, friends, stuff looked pretty potent to me. Well, friends, we're going to look at a really nice new revolver today. This is the Taurus 669, and I tell you what, the people at Taurus really ought to be commended for their workmanship on their new guns. Just a few years ago, you know, a lot of us had an attitude about imported guns, guns from any other country other than the United States. Well, the metal might not be quite as good. It might not be up to our standards of durability or accuracy. Well, I have to say that the good folks at Taurus have really made some inroads into the American market. One, by really supplying us with excellent firearms, and also being somewhat more economical as far as pricing goes. This is a 669 revolver. It has a 6-inch barrel, but it has one difference, and we're going to look at it a little bit closer in just a moment. It has a compensator on the end. In fact, this is essentially a 5-inch barrel gun with the last inch or so, I say, it looks like about an inch, for the compensator. It's not rifled. It is an expansion chamber type situation, and it has 4 holes on either side of the front sight for a total of 8. So, you know, with a 357, one of the things that intimidates a lot of people is recoil with a 357 and muzzle flip. And this is one thing. The 357 Magnum is a very high pressure cartridge, and I have to say it really does work. It serves to hold that muzzle down in recoil. In comparison to our Ruger GP100, the 2 guns are roughly the same size. The Taurus is closer to say a Smith & Wesson K-frame, whereas your GP100 is more like an L-frame Smith & Wesson that so many of us are familiar with. However, the Taurus has the underlug barrel, just like the Ruger here, and also the Smith & Wesson L-frame. And it does a good job of dampening recoil. It's not quite as big or as heavy a gun, say, as our GP, but it looks to be a very substantial gun. One of the neat things about these Taurus guns is they do have a lifetime warranty. And I'll tell you what, friends, they know that some people are going to get these guns and shoot them and shoot them and shoot them. So the only way they can give a lifetime warranty on any sort of gun is for it to be pretty darn well made. And this gun really looks to be, it has an action that is just, and we know it's unloaded, it has an action that is just as smooth as glass now. It is really outstanding. It has a transfer bar type safety, and this is really an excellent revolver. It is not, as expensive as Smith & Wesson, but the quality looks awfully good. I think, as we've said before on the show, regardless of price, Taurus is really sending some very nice guns up this way. Well, we're going to shoot the gun and let you look at it in just a moment, but let's take a closer look. Friends, you can tell the fit and polish of this Taurus is very, very nice. It has a very nice set of grips, extremely comfortable in your hand. It works pretty much like your standard Smith & Wesson we're all so familiar with. At one time, I believe that Taurus and Smith & Wesson were owned by the same company a number of years ago, and I suppose some of the styling characteristics and maybe some other things came with that deal. Anyway, the cylinder opens with the latch here, just like what we're used to on your standard Smith & Wesson, a 6-shot revolver, of course. It has an excellent set of adjustable sights. Of course, you can tell the polish on this gun is so outstanding, as I mentioned earlier. It does have a transfer bar safety. The bar slides up in place, so this gun can be safely carried with all 6 chambers loaded. Even if you drop it, it can't go off unless the trigger is pulled to the rear, and that transfer bar is up where the hammer can contact the firing pin. Now then, what really sets this revolver apart, you see these holes here? This is the compensator. We have an expansion chamber arrangement here. The rifling stops about right here where my thumb is, and believe me, the flame travels up through these little holes and does a good job of keeping that muzzle down.
Hi, I'm Bob Brown, Vietnam veteran and publisher of Soldier of Fortune magazine, described by some as the most politically incorrect magazine in the United States. Every issue we publish in-depth, provocative articles by our investigative reporters on the efforts of gun-grabbing politicians and the BATF to undermine our Second Amendment rights, and what you can do to stop them. Also on-site coverage of the government's abuse of power as occurred in the Randy Weaver tragedy and the Waco fiasco. No puff, no fluff, in-depth technical reviews of new firearms and ammo. In short, hard-hitting action articles of immediate interest to all real Americans, available from no other mainstream media. You need the other side of the story. That's why I'm offering a 1-year subscription to Soldier of Fortune for only $22. That's over a 50% saving. Also, we're going to throw in a free 67-page bonus coverage of all our Waco material that's appeared in Soldier of Fortune and how it affects you. Call our 1-800 number now.
And friends, you can call our Shootin' Show 800 number. That's 1-800-895-7916. Ask for Department SOF for Soldier of Fortune, and we'll take MasterCard or Visa, check, or money order. So call us at 1-800-895-7916. Department SOF, $22 for a year of Soldier of Fortune plus the Waco supplement. It's a great bargain, friends, for a great magazine.
Now then, friends, what we're going to do, let's take our GP100, which you know is certainly, in my opinion, one of the very best handguns that's ever been made by anybody. These are really such terrific guns. And let's take a couple of shots over here and watch the muzzle on this GP100 and see what it does. This is full charge. This is a 140 grain full charge 357 Magnum ammunition. So let's see what it looks like. Ooh, a lot of noise. I see you had a little muzzle flip there. Now then, let's take the Taurus and shooting the same ammunition and see if you can tell the difference. It happens so rapidly, I'm not sure you can, and we don't have our slow motion rig out here today, but let's take a look at it. We'll put in 3 bullets here and just see how it looks. All right, watch the muzzle and see what it hopefully does not do. You can really feel the difference, like so. See, not as much muzzle flip. And one more. So I could certainly tell the difference in shooting. This is a lighter gun, say, than our GP100, and although you just don't seem to get as much recoil sensation. Well, let's shoot it over here on paper, and we have shot this gun already for accuracy a little bit earlier, and it appears as if it is going to be as accurate as, say, your average first quality 6-inch barrel revolver, such as this Ruger or the Smith & Wesson 686, guns like that. It appears so because it's going to put 5 shots in under 2 inches at 25 yards, which is really my opinion of a good shooting handgun. If it will put 5 shots in less than 2 inches, or some people go to 2.5 inches or so, to me, if one shoots good, it's going to break less than 2 inches. If you get one that shoots exceptional, it's going to go 1.5 inches or 1 inch. So these look like they're going to do really well. We haven't done a lot of real extensive accuracy shooting, but it does look good so far. Now then, friends, of course, we're very close to our target here. We're going to use our GP100 as our control gun, and we're going to compare it to the Taurus. I have our Pro Timer on, which, again, you don't know you need a timer until you try one and you see just what a help it is to you. But let me put my hearing protection in a little bit better. Remember, we never shoot without eye protection and ear protection. There's just no use leaving the range hurting anywhere, as you've often heard me say. So let's go ahead. I'm going to let the timer start me. I'm going to fire 5 shots into our target here as quickly as I can this afternoon. And we'll compare it to the Taurus. We'll also compare our group size. So I'll punch the timer and get in position. Okay, 1.36 seconds. And let's take a look at the group. All right, admittedly, friends, I am close to the target, but that's pretty good. We got 4 in one hole and 1 over here, which is, truthfully, that's about as well as I can shoot, and about as fast as I can shoot, certainly this afternoon. Well, let's tape our target and try the same drill with the Taurus. All right, friends, let's try the same drill with our compensated Taurus. Our GP100 ran at 1.36 seconds for 5 shots. Of course, that's including my reaction time. Not a particularly fast time for me today, but that, again, today it may be about as good as I'm going to do. Well, let's try our Taurus with 5 rounds of full charge ammunition and see what happens. I'll go ahead and get in position and punch the timer and get ready. Well, 1.35 seconds, so I didn't really pick up much speed, 100th of a second, and my group here is 4 in one hole and a couple there, which is certainly comparable to the other gun. But the thing is, what I did not notice was, and of course we know this gun is empty now, as we know let's go ahead and take the empties out and set them over here. You know, that's another advantage to a revolver. You don't lose any cases. You can put your cases down, and you know, friends, this may be something that is important to us. Typically, when I come down here and shoot a semi-automatic, even though the grass is cut real short and I really make an effort to pick up all my empties, I'll invariably lose some. Well, now nobody knows what's going to be happening as far as ammunition goes. The some of the congressmen are trying to pass outrageous taxes on ammunition. So this is one thing about revolvers. You can reload those cases. You can save them, shoot them, save them, reload them for a long time. So this is something to be considered. And you know what else? By using revolvers, some of these people may take some of the semi-automatics away from us. Well, a lot of people are going to discover that you're just as well armed with a revolver as with any high-capacity semi-automatic. You just have to learn to shoot it. That's all there is to it. So here's what I was feeling. I was feeling less of a shock to my hands. The speed of the gun was pretty much dictated by how fast I could move my finger back and forth today. But as hopefully you could see on the tape here, the muzzle just did not rise up as much as, say, our standard uncompensated gun. And this is really an advantage because this Taurus is available in several barrel lengths. A couple of them are compensated, and the guns are lighter, say, than comparable models from Smith & Wesson or from Ruger or some of the others, the fine Wesson Arms Company, but you don't seem to have as much recoil. So again, our group is comparable to what our Ruger shot there a little earlier. And as I said earlier, these are really nicely made guns. The Taurus 669, it would be something, especially if you're on a budget, that you might want to take a real good look at. They're very fine shooting guns, very fine values for the money.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station. You know, friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Shotgun News, Post Office Box 669, Hastings, Nebraska. That's zip code 68902. For MasterCard or Visa subscriptions only, call them at 1-800-345-6923. And now we're going to feature our good friend Art Alphin. Lieutenant Colonel Art Alphin, retired, in fact, a former instructor at West Point. And, of course, now he has the great A-Square Company in Bedford, Kentucky, with some of the finest big-game rifles and ammunition available anywhere in the world today. For information on Art's products, call him at area 502-255-7456.
Firepower is normally meaningless and sometimes used by people who don't really understand. In fact, firepower consists of 3 separate and distinct components: volume of fire, combat range, and terminal effect. The history of small arms technology is the history of developments and advances in the 3 components. Since any weapon gains in one component at the expense of another, it also concerns the design trade-offs involved, how these trade-offs were incorporated into tactical doctrine, and how they affected the outcome of battle. Volume of fire is the number of rounds that a well-trained operator or crew can efficiently and accurately fire in 1 minute. This includes sustaining the fire for some period of time and putting the rounds on target. In a manually operated weapon, the soldier is the primary limiting factor in volume of fire. Automatic weapons are not so easy. All automatic weapons have a cyclic rate of fire, which is an expression of the speed at which the mechanism functions. No automatic weapon, with one exception, can sustain a volume of fire the same as its cyclic rate, primarily because the heat of firing cannot be dissipated at the same rate that it builds up. This can seriously damage or destroy the weapon. There are ways of combating it, such as a quick-change barrel, but each one brings its own set of advantages and disadvantages. As a good rule of thumb, most automatic weapons will have a sustained volume of fire somewhere between 1/6 and 1/3 of their cyclic rate. Combat range is expressed as a distance. Many interrelated factors have an effect on combat range. One is accuracy or shot-to-shot uniformity, so all subsequent rounds go in the same place that the first round did. Barrel length and velocity have absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with accuracy. Accuracy is a result of proper design and precision and uniformity in manufacture. In some cases, such as the flintlock smoothbore musket, accuracy will be the practical limit on combat range. Since the 1870s, trajectory has been the primary limiting factor. Further, trajectory gives rise to two divisions of combat range: battle sight range and adjust sight range. This black line represents the line of sight from shooter to target. This is the barrel and front sight of a firearm. If the barrel were held perfectly horizontal, the path of the bullet would define a curve much like this blue curve. However, rifles are made such that the barrel is always pointing upward in relation to the line of sight. The bullet starts out below the line of sight, travels upward and crosses the line of sight on the ascending branch of the trajectory, it passes through the maximum ordinate, and then drops down on the descending branch, crossing back over the line of sight and falling away below it. For any target beyond this battle sight range, the shooter must adjust his sights. He estimates the range to the target and sets that range on his sights. By so doing, he is changing the angle of the barrel and the positioning of the trajectory curve in relation to the line of sight. If the shooter adjusts the sights for well beyond where his target actually is, the maximum ordinate may be so high above the line of sight that the bullet will go over the target at a closer range. Conversely, if the adjustment is well short of the actual range to the target, the bullet may pass below the target. This trajectory is much more of a curve than people think. A .45-70, if fired with the barrel perfectly horizontal, will, in less than 500 yards downrange, drop more than 450 inches below the line of sight. Adjust sight range is that range such that the shooter can aim between the breast pockets of the enemy, make a 50-yard range estimation error or sight adjustment error, and still strike somewhere between the throat and belt buckle. Beyond the adjust sight range, the target can still be hit. However, range estimation must be more and more accurate. The curve of the trajectory is very important. Anything which reduces the drop of the bullet and thereby flattens the trajectory will result in an increase in both battle sight range and adjust sight range. There are two primary ways of doing this. One is an increase in muzzle velocity, and the other is an improvement in aerodynamic efficiency. A bullet traveling downrange is constantly decelerated by air resistance. A round-nosed bullet will suffer great deceleration. By streamlining the nose of the bullet into the Spitzer shape, the designer significantly increases the aerodynamic efficiency and reduces the loss of velocity. This aerodynamic efficiency is generally expressed as a decimal number called ballistic coefficient. The higher the ballistic coefficient, the more aerodynamically efficient the bullet. Other factors besides accuracy and trajectory affect combat range. The leader and the user of the weapon have the ability to change some of these. Training and acquisition of a sight picture, adjustment of sights, and range estimation will have a direct effect on combat range. If the shooter can hold a small error in range estimation and sight adjustment, or is trained to spot the fall of his rounds on the ground and use that as a basis for further estimation and adjustment, the adjust sight range will be increased. Before we leave combat range, one other point must be made. It is not uncommon to find sights graduated to 2,000 yards for weapons which have a 400 or 500 yard adjust sight range. The numerical graduations on the rear sight are no indicator whatsoever of either battle sight or adjust sight range. About the only exception to this is the British Army in the period 1905 to 1914. They were amongst the finest military marksmen and could use their weapons out to the limit of possible sight adjustments. The most important of the three components of firepower is terminal effect. Terminal effect concerns the destruction of a target given a hit on that target. This will be covered in greater detail in another tape. I urge you to keep the components of firepower constantly in mind. They are necessary for tracing the development of small arms. Further, every weapon cartridge combination has a unique blend of the three components of firepower. This blend gives it certain advantages and disadvantages in relation to any other weapon. In no small measure, the tactical outcome of battle has been decided by the advantages and disadvantages of one nation's weapons against another, the leader's understanding of what those advantages and disadvantages were, and how to make them work for him. In sum, the three components of firepower are volume of fire, combat range, with its two divisions, battle sight range and adjust sight range, and terminal effect. They are essential as threads of continuity in the study of the history of military technology and its relation to the outcome of battle.
Friends, we hope you're enjoying our program so far. We have some really neat stuff to show you. You know, there's not much that I wouldn't be willing to face with this Smith & Wesson 41 Magnum. However, there are times when we can't carry a firearm. Certainly in some parts of the country now, you may get in more trouble for just having a firearm on your person than you would for actually committing a crime. It's absolutely ridiculous, but this is a situation we have to deal with. Well, we've made friends with a new company. They're called On Target Enterprises, and they have a couple of things that we'd like to show you. One, they have a really neat personal alarm here, and this thing is loud as can be. It has a pull pin. In the event of an emergency, all you have to do is yank this pin out of it, and of course it'll start the alarm. It also has an off-on switch on the side, so you could walk along with it in your hand and then turn it on if need be. Woo! I know I'm not going to turn it on for an extended period because this thing I think is about 130 decibels. It is loud, and yes, my ears are ringing now. Anyway, these are very nicely made little units. It has a clip here that you can clip it on your belt just like you would a pager. And of course, when you pull this pin out of it in an emergency, it can't be cut off. They'll have to destroy it literally. This is great for a lady to have maybe in her purse and have the cord wrapped around her wrist. So if someone took her purse, well, it's going to set off the alarm. And suddenly you have a purse snatcher with a purse that is alarming. So this is a great idea. And one of the nicest features, it's extremely reasonable in cost. I believe this unit retails for between $12 and $13. It is really a nicely made product. They also have several different kinds of pepper sprays. This is called the Guardian, and this particular spray is rated at 13% capsanoid, which is the capsicum pepper. And this stuff works on whether someone has been drinking or using drugs. They cannot deal with this here. All you have to do, you spray them in the face, or you hit the mucous membranes in the nose or the eyes, and trust me on this one, they're in serious trouble for a while. And again, this is something that you can have with you where you may not be able to carry a firearm, but the pepper sprays have really come into their own. Most of the police agencies are now using pepper sprays. I've heard of wild animals, bears, and wild dogs being turned by spraying them with some of this pepper spray. So what we need to do, you need to call On Target Enterprises at area 704-785-9567. And please, if you don't have a pen, get one, because this is really important, because this could save your life, certainly. On Target Enterprises, their address is Post Office Box 372, Harrisburg, North Carolina. The zip code is 28075. Or call them again at area 704-785-9567 and get their product list. I think you'll be most impressed, and we're going to be featuring some more of their products on the program in the next week or so. They're extremely nice people, and I think it would certainly do us good to again, the pricing on this personal alarm, the pricing that they have is really excellent, and these really may be helpful to you. Well, you know, friends, this 41 Magnum, this Smith & Wesson, technology on this revolver was perfected about 1899 on the double action revolver as we know it today. Well, you know what? Soon the anti-gun people are going to be calling this revolver a semi-automatic. I'll tell you why, because we know this gun's unloaded. Yes, here in the studio, we do not want an accidental discharge anywhere, much less in the studio today. But since it fires every time you pull the trigger, they're going to be calling this a semi-automatic, just like the technology behind this MAK-90. A gas operation was perfected around 1900 or slightly thereafter. These guns, and this type of gun, shall we say, has been around for a long time. Well, you know, suddenly the government does not trust us to have these guns, which in different versions have been around for nearly 100 years. Now, what's happened? Whether you have a 5-round magazine or a 30-round magazine for this MAK, I really don't see what their problem is. Just because you have some individuals in our society who are not responsible and have misused some of these guns in very small numbers, whereas the vast majority of people with firearms never misuse them, and for that matter, the honest citizen either stops a crime or makes a citizen's arrest over 1 million times a year, far more times than the police do. The citizens actually use their personally owned firearms to protect themselves, their families, to stop crime, but suddenly the government no longer trusts us with these guns. Well, you know what? I think it's time that we don't trust the government. I don't think that some of the things they're saying, one, they're not true, two, they don't even know what they're talking about, yet they're trying to take guns away from us, the honest citizen. We are not the problem as honest citizens. The problem is the criminal. And today our justice system is not dealing with the criminal. As we said on a program a week or so ago, in some of the major cities, about 7 out of 10 crimes are committed by repeat offenders. Well, what are they doing out? So, friends, we have got to make some changes. The thing that you can do is join the Shoot and Show Gun Club today, because we're going to do something about it by taking our message all over the country. You know, we get a good bit of mail from outside the United States. We have a lot of friends in Canada that write to us, even have some gun club members in Canada, and they're really in trouble up there. They have almost no firearms rights left, certainly as we know them. And they're telling us, do not let happen here in the United States what has happened to them. They're so restricted on firearms use that it's ridiculous. Well, friends, you can do something. You can join the Shoot and Show Gun Club. Our phone number, of course, 1-800-895-7916, because we're going to get this message out, and we intend to do something about it. And in fact, our video was so popular last week. It's been a while since we've played it on our program. And of course, we have a vast new audience on the Outdoor Channel, and we'd like to play it for you again this week. You can get a copy for Christmas for $9.95 on our Down to You and Me video. And the bad news is, the good news is it was really a fun video. We had a lot of fun doing it. The bad news is it's all true. So we hope everyone does have a happy holiday season, a happy Christmas and New Year's, certainly a safe Christmas and New Year's. So now we're going to play our video for you.
I'm proud to be an American, thank God our country's strong. But some time ago, you know, it occurred to me, there's something going wrong. My granddad fought against tyranny so we could all be free. I'm afraid, my friends, his fight has passed down to you and me, down to you and me. We got people telling us what to do, they don't even know our name. We're just a number on some little card, and I think that's a shame. If George and Abe could see us now, bet they'd both agree this is not exactly what they had in mind. The land of liberty, sweet land of liberty. Oh, I love to hear my Harley run. I like being free to live out my dreams, and I want to have a little fun. I want to hold on to what we've got, from sea to shining sea. I'm afraid, my friend, the fight has passed down to you and me. Oh, down to you and me. We got politicians and bureaucrats all telling us what to do, and they don't seem at all concerned about what they put us through. They tax and spend like there's no end, throw it all away. Just keep in mind there'll come a time when nobody's left to pay. Well, nobody's left to pay. There's people that wanna lock us up just to keep us away from harm. They want a police state to give us orders, but they can get us unarmed. There's folks that say they know the truth, well, they saw it on TV. We got some boys on Capitol Hill, don't wanna have us free. Now they don't wanna have us free. My Harley run. I like being free to live out my dreams, and I want to have a little fun. I want to hold on to what we've got, see see. I'm afraid, my friends, the fight is past. Down to you and me. Well, down to you and me. Down, down, down to you and me. Oh, down, down, down to you and me. Down, down, down. You and me. Down to you and me.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Well, friends, we're going to look at some more revolvers today. This is important because so many people now are becoming concerned for their personal safety, for home defense, and in some areas of the country it may become very difficult even to own semi-automatics. And as I said earlier, a lot of people are going to find out that you're just as well armed with a revolver. I personally like to shoot semi-automatics. We've got a couple here on the farm that I really am attached to, but for some of you in some areas that may have no alternative to a revolver. And of course you have some security guards that are carrying revolvers now. A lot of the police departments are going to semi-automatics. In fact, the other day I heard that in New York City the police department is switching over to Glocks. And you know, the Glock 9mm have typically 17 rounds in the magazine. Well, for some unknown reason, the police, I understand, are being restricted to 10-round magazines. So the officials apparently in higher offices don't even trust the police to have high-capacity magazines. It's just outrageous, friends. And you know, you can join the Shootin' Show Gun Club. We're going to do something about it. Doggone it, enough's enough. Anyway, here we have one of my favorite handguns. In fact, it's not even my handgun. This is a loan gun from Smith & Wesson, the good people there, from their test program. This is a model 657 in 41 Magnum. Now, among the revolvers, certainly the most effective and common revolvers we'll run into happen to be 357, 41 Magnums, and also 44 Magnums. Well, you know, I've said before on the program that I think the 41 Magnum is possibly the best compromise of all, because as you can see with the three cartridges here, the 44 Magnum is on your left, the 41 Magnum is in the center, and the 357 there is on your right. The 41 actually has the best characteristics of the smaller Magnum of 357 and also the 44. The 41 has a good bit more power, say, than a 357, but it's much easier to shoot than a 44 Magnum. The 357 Magnum typically has, for the sake of simplicity today, we're going to say 500 or so foot-pounds of energy. The 41 Magnum has 750 or so foot-pounds of energy, and the 44 at around 1,000 foot-pounds of energy. So really the 41 sort of splits the difference between the 44 and the 357. One good thing about the in-frame Smith & Wessons like this model 657, the 41 seems to be the perfect cartridge size for this particular gun. The tolerances, the clearances, the amounts of metal between the holes in the cylinder, everything seems to be just right. 357 on an in-frame seems a little bit like a little bit much material when there are smaller guns available in 357, but when you put the 44 Magnum in the in-frame, well, it seems to be taking things a little further, certainly with the standard barrel profile. And I do understand from years past, a lot of people have worn 44 Magnum Smith & Wessons out because the guns were a little bit light for constant shooting with heavy loads. But to tell you the truth, the 41 seemed to hold up extremely well. And of course today Smith & Wesson has on the end frames an endurance package which has made all their guns much more durable, especially in the heavier chamberings. But the 41, to tell you the truth, I don't think they had to do anything to it because it was just about perfect the way it was. Well, we're going to run a little experiment here, and I'm going to state my case. We have three guns we're going to be using. We have our Ruger GP100. And you know how I feel about this gun. This is one of the best guns to be had, period. No ifs, no ands, no buts. We're also using a Ruger Super Red Hawk. And we'll feature the Red Hawk in another segment on another show at another time. But again, this is one of the very best handguns that money can buy. It is just a superior engineered. The materials are just excellent. As I said, a superior engineered piece of work here. We have a custom hole grip on there, make it a little easier on my hand. And of course here we have our Smith & Wesson 657, which is a little lighter, say, than the Super Red Hawk, but in fact it's comparable in weight, maybe a little heavier than our 6-inch barrel GP100. So just realize that the 41 Magnum essentially splits the difference. And if you're looking at buying a handgun, the 41 Magnum is possibly the most overlooked caliber, and for a do-everything handgun from black bear hunting to home defense, nothing, in my humble opinion, will do it better than a 41 Magnum. It is really one of our most accurate chamberings. It seems like whatever barrel length these guns come in, they shoot extremely well. And let's look today. We're going to see just, in fact, the speed of shooting these three guns, because I know some police officers that are carrying 44 Magnum handguns. Well, I think the 44 is a little bit much using full-powered ammunition. To be a defensive round, the 44 Magnum really needs to be downloaded. There are some loadings available for the 41 Magnum, such as the Winchester Silvertip, which is not quite a full loading, more like a 3/4 power load. Or there is a lighter load that you can get for the 41, which puts it down to about the power level, say, of a 45 ACP, which is very low recoil, very low muzzle flash. You know, these guns, if you've been shooting a 38 Special, well, yes, it's going to kick some. If you've been shooting a 357 Magnum, I personally do not feel like that it is a heavy recoiling handgun. The full charge 44 Magnums, all of them kick, you know. In fact, we're going to do something on the next show or so, showing how you can shoot a single action as quickly as you can a double action 44 Magnum. But anyway, let's run our time test, put my hearing in real well. Let's take our 357 Magnum and load it, for that matter. And we did this earlier, but let's do it again. All right, let's time 5 shots on our target with our 357. And let's see if I can improve my earlier time any. We'll know in just a moment. Turn our timer on and get in position. Well, 1.26 seconds. That was a little quicker. And we have a very tight group of, about an inch there. That's one of the advantages in a 357 Magnum. You can shoot them rapidly and accurately. But now then, 1.26 seconds. Well, let's tape our target so we'll know where we shot. Now, friends, I will remind you that we're using full-powered ammunition. We're not using target variety. We're using full charge. This 41 is a 210 grain bullet moving at about 1,250 or so, or 1,300 feet per second, so it's definitely full powered. All these are today. The 140 grain bullets in the 357. All right, 1.26 seconds for 5 shots on target. So let's go ahead and time our 41 Magnum. Okay, 1.30. Did I say 6 shots earlier? That was 1.26 seconds for 5 shots. And so here we have a 50% increase in power in our 41 Magnum, and a group size that's, a couple of inches there, or a little bigger, of course, than our 357 group, but realize a 50% increase in power, and how about 0.04 of a second longer to shoot it. So, and I really didn't notice that much recoil, much more so than the 357. There was probably some, but again, I really didn't notice it. Okay, we have our 44 Magnum now. Remember, the 41 took 1.3 seconds, just 0.04 of a second longer than our 357 took. Now, let's take our full charge 44, and we'll punch our timer and get in position. Well, truthfully, I don't know what the group size is, but 1.42 seconds, and believe me, I was going as fast as I could. Well, I don't know. I don't know. As you can see, the muzzle blast is pretty outrageous on the 44 Magnum. But, you know, you're talking about another 250 foot-pounds of energy, but it's much harder to control 1.42 seconds. So it is a much more substantial difference between the 41 Magnum and the 44 as between the 357 Magnum and the 41. So, like I said, the 357 Magnum is anyway, the 41 Magnum is much easier to shoot rapidly. Well, let's do something else.
Hi, I'm Bob Brown, Vietnam veteran and publisher of Soldier of Fortune magazine, described by some as the most politically incorrect magazine in the United States. Every issue we publish in-depth, provocative articles by our investigative reporters on the efforts of gun-grabbing politicians and the BATF to undermine our Second Amendment rights, and what you can do to stop them. Also on-site coverage of the government's abuse of power has occurred in the Randy Weaver tragedy and the Waco fiasco. No puff, no fluff, in-depth technical reviews of new firearms and ammo. In short, hard-hitting action articles of immediate interest to all real Americans, available from no other mainstream media. You need the other side of the story. That's why I'm offering a one-year subscription to Soldier of Fortune for only $22. That's over a 50% saving. Also, we're going to throw in a free 67-page bonus coverage of all our Waco material that's appeared in Soldier of Fortune and how it affects you. Call our 1-800 number now.
And friends, you can call our Shootin' Show 800 number. That's 1-800-895-7916. Ask for Department SOF for Soldier of Fortune, and we'll take MasterCard or Visa, check, or money orders. So call us at 1-800-895-7916. Department SOF, $22 for a year of Soldier of Fortune plus the Waco supplement. It's a great bargain, friends, for a great magazine. And let me remind you, folks, if you would like information on the Soldier of Fortune convention for next year, and if trust me on this one, if you are planning a vacation for next fall, you really ought to consider it, because it is such a tremendous time. One of the nicest groups of people you're ever going to meet, certainly people who feel like we do. You can call our 800 number, 1-800-895-7916, and leave your name and address, and the good people at Soldier of Fortune will send you convention information. Again, call us at our Shootin' Show 800 number, and we'll get you some information out about the convention. And speaking of the Soldier of Fortune convention, we're going to show you a couple more things this week that we think you're going to find entertaining.
How you doing?
Well, we're doing fine. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. And friends, John Wayne has not come back from the grave, but I tell you what, you wouldn't know it by looking.
Well, thank you. Shootin' Show, meeting in. We can do for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Matt Siebert, and he is with Reactive Target Systems. Did I say that right, sir?
Yes.
And we have looked at on a feature on Matt's target system as far as the targets that go up and down by air, and they fall over, and it's a great fun mechanism they have. So Matt's going to tell us a little bit about his products and a couple of new things he has.
Well, the nice thing about our products is that we are not using steel plates. We're using a plastic plate that we developed called Reactive Steel. The nice thing about our system is, with steel, you always end up with dangerous bullet splatter. With the Reacti-Seal, it's a plastic material, it's a self-healing material. When the bullet hits the material, the bullet goes through the material safely to the backstop. There's enough drag as the bullet goes through or the plate will fall over. But the nice thing about it is that even with a 44 mag, 45, 9mm, 38 special, or a 380, the bullet will pass through the plate and totally self-seal so that there's no hole. And a plate like this, an 8-inch plate, will take anywhere from 500, 650 rounds before needing replacement.
Well, anything we can do to prevent possible injuries from bullet splatter or anything else is a great achievement as far as I'm concerned, because we do stress safety on each program. At some point we always stress safety. But tell me about these pepper poppers over here on your...
Well, these pepper poppers are made out of Reacti-Seal. When a bullet hits the popper, the plate falls over just like it does with a steel popper. But the nice thing about it is it's made out of the Reacti-Seal material. With the Reacti-Seal, the bullet will go safely through the material to the backstop, knocking the plate over, so you still have the fun of a reactive target, but you don't have to worry about any splatter, any type of ricochets off the plate. Another nice feature is they're very light.
And for those of us who have carted pepper poppers around on the range, we will appreciate that.
And this is ideal for an indoor range, because normally on an indoor range, in order to you can't shoot poppers or steel plates on an indoor range.
Right.
So with these, now this gives the range an opportunity to offer their shooters pepper poppers that are safe, and they don't have to worry about blowing out the lights, the ceiling, the ventilation system, or damaging the walls due to the splatter from the bullet hitting the steel plate. It goes right through it.
Well, Matt, tell us some of the folks that are using your reactive target systems now as we speak.
Right now, the NRA has leased one of our Challenger 2s. That's the one that you saw in the event.
Right.
And that's a pop-up falling plate system. It talks to you. It's portable. The other one is Challenger. Challenger is an electronic shooting booth. We've got that in dozen-plus ranges throughout the U.S.
And for information on reactive target systems, call them at area 313-585-8484. And you know, friends, for a monthly shooting magazine, you should turn to Shooting Times. They have all sorts of features on black powder, on handguns, on long guns, by some of your favorite gun writers. For subscription information, call them at 1-800-727-4353. Again, 1-800-727-4353. For Shooting Times, the best there is. Well, friends, it's happened again. We've run out of time. We certainly hope you've enjoyed our program as much as we have enjoyed bringing it to you. We want to wish everyone a happy Christmas and certainly a happy holiday season. And we look forward to seeing you again next week on another Shooting Show.